When we fight, we face our enemy head on. When we take their life, we look them in the eye with courage and respect. This is what makes us samurai.
Ghost of Tsushima is the PlayStation exclusive that was announced back in 2017 and took everyone's attention because it was a Japanese samurai game. And everyone likes swords and samurai. A year passes and at E3 they showed us gameplay which looked cool, but it kind of lacked depth, which wasn't a bad thing since the video showed us just enough to stay intrigued and not lose interest. But after Sucker Punch released the official trailer of the game, the majority of people couldn't wait to see more. I expected the game to feel like a modern day samurai movie and tell a story of how a samurai seeks redemption, but it was so much more. I'm not trying to say the game's perfect, it definitely has its problems, but where the game falters is also something unique to outweigh the bad. I've had so much fun with this game that it has become one of my favorite PS4 titles, and since I've now finished the story and played a big amount of the side quests, I felt like I had to make a video to figure out why the game appealed to me so much, and why I feel like everyone, including you, should experience Ghost of Tsushima. I bought this game to experience a story that would go hand in hand with gameplay, and all the while being so invested that I couldn't wait to see what happened next. And for the most part, I got exactly that. The game follows Jin Sakai on his quest to save his uncle, Lord Shimura, who was captured by Khotun Khan after the Mongol invasion on Komoda Beach. The game features 3 acts. The first act is based around saving your uncle and building the game's mechanics, world and characters so that everything will be in place for when the big story moments happen. The way this game builds its characters is great. You slowly learn so much more about Jin's past and why the samurai code of honor, which his uncle taught him, is so important. This is what makes you care about him and the other characters. Every character feels unique with their own story, which is what makes the story push forward and make you want to see what happens next. For example, in the first act, Jin slowly realizes that he can't beat the Mongols with his samurai code of honor. Instead, he has to use covert tactics, which aren't honorable, and break his code for his country, which leads him to slowly become the Ghost of Tsushima. This dynamic is what drives the game forward and lets these big story moments in Act 2 and 3 occur. The story isn't something award-winning, but it's definitely a passion project that isn't afraid to take risks to tell the right tale. Jin feels conflicted with his decision to become the ghost since he leaves behind the code that he has learned and used for years, all the while pushing away his uncle that has taught him the code of honor. From the very first to last mission, you're aware of what's at stake, and this dynamic of being honorable or dishonorable to save your people is what makes for great moments and make you wonder, what will happen next, and how will these choices affect the story and the people in it? If you ever wanted to feel like a master swordsman that is able to kill these huge monsters with ease and feels satisfying while doing so, then go play Sekiro. When you begin the game, all you have is your katana. Using your katana in combat feels satisfying and rewarding. You have a lot of possibilities when approaching a battle, but I want to highlight 2 in particular. Just like in the story, you first play honorable, only doing standouts and facing the enemy head on, but after the event on Komoda Beach, the duality literally comes into play. You sometimes feel powerless in situations and you get 2 choices. If you play honorable and follow the samurai code, you sometimes make the fights harder, but they will lead to less in-game storms, more sunny days, and you feel like a real samurai. But if you play dishonorable, you break the samurai code, which leads to more storms in the open world, and you sometimes feel more powerful but without honor. The game allows for so much variety and ways to approach a battle, but they also sometimes feel still by the end of the game, since you have seen pretty much all of the ways the game does its open world events and combat. This is where I transition to difficulty. The difficulty makes a huge change in gameplay. Believe me, playing on hard or lethal won't feel too difficult and actually rewarding. At the end of the game, you sometimes feel so powerless that you start using covert tactics like Jin to win the battle, all the while improving your skill as an honorable or dishonorable warrior. All the skill is put to the test in the last act, and when you finish this act, you will feel the weight of the story and how good it transitioned into gameplay. There is so much more to experience, like these side quests which are very fun and sometimes have great storylines. There are shrines, hot springs, bamboo strikes, and a lot more. Every one of them feels rewarding to do since you actually get something from doing them, like increased health, charms that grant you extra abilities to enhance or make the game a bit easier, and a whole lot more. All the things you do in Ghost of Tsushima feels like they help the main narrative, and they are so much fun to do. This game was one of the best to end the PS4's lifecycle with, and I highly recommend you experience it yourself and form your own opinion. The game doesn't have groundbreaking mechanics. Heck, some of these have been done before by other games. But the way Sucker Punch differentiates these mechanics and makes them their own, like for example, the guiding wind, is what makes this game so refreshingly fun. The game might not appeal to you as much as it did to me, but you will definitely have a great time playing through the game. The combination of the story with the gameplay has been done so well that every aspect of it feels polished and refreshing. It doesn't matter if you play as the ghost or by the samurai code. In the end, you will experience a game that does everything to get you involved into gameplay that feels modern, authentic, and refreshingly enjoyable. Yeah, to be honest, this game kind of looks like shit. The presentation in this game is easily the selling point and is one of the main reasons I want people to experience this game. From the very moment you start the game, you're put into the action and witness the event that moves the whole game forward. You learn the basics and get to know the characters whilst being really invested in the story. When the prologue ends, you know what your goal is and head out to get the job done, followed by music that sets the tone for the whole game and progressively gets louder until you're out there, free to explore the beautiful island of Tsushima and discover everything in it. The open world is really a blast to explore since there are a lot of places to discover, like this random yet beautiful flower garden, and things to do like these Mongol bases or these shrines, which are fun, rewarding, and give the world some character. These side activities do get a little repetitive around the end of the game, but they get more interesting since you unlock more side events by playing through the story. Tsushima feels like a real and living place with lots to discover and see, not to mention how amazing the world looks. Sucker Punch Studios really outdid themselves here with these graphics, and it really shows. I once went to a house with people who were attacked by Mongols and I helped them out and went on my merry way. When I returned after 2 missions, the Mongols were there instead, having finally killed the family. And sometimes you're riding around the world and see some Mongols fighting a bear or capturing a peasant. This is what I mean when I say the open world feels alive. It's not on par with something like GTA since you've already seen almost all of the events around the end of the game, but the world definitely feels more alive than some other AAA titles. The English voice acting, by the way, is really great, but it didn't feel right to me since the game takes place in Japan. I'd suggest trying to play the game in Japanese since the voice acting is really good and makes the game more realistic, even though the audio sync is really bad. And personally, after the prologue, I didn't even notice anymore that the mouse didn't sync up, but if it really bothers you, just switch to English since those actors still give you an amazing performance. Now, I need to talk about one of the best things of this game. The music! The music just fits the game and setting so well that it gave me chills every time I heard them in or outside of cutscenes. The tracks for characters like Lord Shimura or Jin have been made to convey that sort of emotion and aura that these characters give off. The track for Jin is upbeat and conveys the emotion of a samurai, loyalty, honor, and respect. But if we take the track for the Ghost, you will hear a darker and slower version that sounds intense, emotional, and almost dishonorable. The music is to me one of the best parts of this game, and I want people to experience it with the intended context that they will hopefully enjoy as much as I did. Ghost of Tsushima is one of the greatest titles of this console era and the perfect way to end the PlayStation 4 lifecycle. The game delivers in almost every aspect and brings you an immersive and fun experience. Jin feels conflicted with his samurai code of honor since in his eyes, it makes them weak and predictable. The Mongols reign supreme while the samurai fail to protect Tsushima. That is until Jin becomes the Ghost. He starts getting conflicted and yet is still convinced that by becoming the Ghost, he's finally able to save his homeland, but this at the cost of abandoning the samurai code and pushing away his father figure. This dishonorable path he chooses to follow will make you as the player question what you will have to do to save Tsushima. Will you abandon your code of honor to become something to fear? Or will you abide your code in the effort to save your homeland? Ghost of Tsushima is all about player choice and immersing you into this world. Just like every other type of media, it isn't perfect, but this game will bring you an experience that you won't forget, and this is the reason why you should experience Ghost of Tsushima. This video took a long time to make. I'm aware that I'm late to the hype, but I wasn't able to find the time to record my audio, and ever since school started reopening, I've had a very tight schedule which led me to not be able to edit my videos as much as I'd like. But that aside, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this part of the video, please consider subscribing since like I always say, I have a lot more content planned. But it's actually true though. The problem is that I can't always record these videos or upload them on time since they take a long time to perfect. I'm not going to lie and say I've been working on these videos as much as I can because I haven't. This is mainly because I sometimes just want to go home and chill instead of get back to work, you know. I am going to make sure I'll at least upload once a month, and if finished, more than once, which is the main goal, so look out for that. I'd like to state one last thing before I end this video, and that is that Sucker Punch Studios are going to add a multiplayer game mode to Ghost of Tsushima, and although we do not know too much about this new addition to the game, I'd say it's the perfect time to get the product since it will still be supported by the developers, with maybe new updates in the future that you can now experience by yourself or with friends. Having said all that, thank you again for watching my video. Feel free to check out my other content and show me your support by by liking the video or subscribing. I will hope to see you guys back again soon, and take care.